Okay, welcome to myhappyassets.com little informational broadcast here about some of the things you need to know in order to become financially independent and build a solid financial foundation. So really, I'll just jump right in. That's the subject of this blog posting, this video blog, is building a solid foundation, personal finance for small business owners, something you need for your business and for personal investing purposes moving forward. So here's kind of a summary of what's going to be covered. Again, we always talk about a picture of cash flow and assets just to give us that context, what it means for a small business to have a personal finance aspect, because really they're two sides of the same coin. And then we'll kind of cover some ground we've already covered before with the definition and examples of assets and how business should be a system, and we'll cover the 4 quadrants of earners. And then if anybody has any questions, they can go to the website myhappyassets.com and send some questions through that, or smallbizcoffee.com. So here's the picture of cash flow and assets. This is your income statement and your balance sheet at the bottom. So this is a graphical representation of what those financial statements look like. And this ellipse between the two is financial independence. So you see your asset column is throwing off enough cash flow to meet or exceed your expenses. And when that occurs, you are financially independent. Here's how the different classes spend their income. This is how poor people spend their income. It comes in and then it hits their expense column and it goes out the door. So that'd be expenses such as eating out, or you name it, just normal everyday expenses. This is the middle class. Middle class build liabilities which come with big payments. An example would be 10 jet skis on credit cards. That feeds the expense column. The income comes in, it hits those expenses, it goes out the door. But you see how it's fed by bad debt from the liability column. Here's the rich. And when I say rich, I don't mean just monetarily rich. I mean rich in time, rich in having the option to give money away, spend time with family, and indulge in your passions or hobbies, or you name it. So the rich spend their time and investing in assets, and those assets kick off enough cash flow into the income column. That ellipse again represents financial freedom or financial independence, or in this case, whatever meaning you subscribe or prescribe to being rich. So here's the basic financial plan. That's really at the core of what we're talking about tonight. Basic financial plan, and as it relates to business, and the bottom line is you take it with you. So if you start a business and you can't control your personal finances, you're going to take that right into business. So I think you have to have that. You have to have it under control on the personal side before you start a business. So some of you will be familiar with these steps. A lot of it takes from the Dave Ramsey plan, which is a pretty straightforward, solid foundation. And you always run into the argument of good debt and bad debt. And so Dave Ramsey says all debt's bad, and then the people on the other side of the fence say good debt would be debt on an asset that produces cash flow. But let's just look at his plan real quick. So number one, you have an emergency fund or a rainy day fund of $1,000 in place. That's number one. And you would also, in part two, understand the difference between bad debt and credit cards. So we said 10 jet skis on credit cards. That's a bad idea. Both sides agree with that. So you need to get credit cards under control or get rid of them. And you start reducing that bad debt. So smallest to largest, he ignores interest rates in order to make progress. So you pay off the smallest one. When that's gone, you roll that payment on to the next largest debt payment, and so on. That's his debt snowball. Increase your rainy day fund up to 36 months of expenses, then begin investing. Now, he really stops at mutual funds and maybe some rental property, but down the road we'll see how we can expand on this plan and take it to maybe what could be considered a 2.0 version. Pay off your house early. The people on the fence or on the other side of that there is good debt even agree that a house in some ways can be a liability because the taxes and insurance. So in my opinion, the best thing to do is to negate that and have it paid off. So at least you don't have a mortgage on it. And then you would go into what we talked about, or what I kind of referred to, advanced investments and your business. But this is important to have in place because business is risky and you need a safety net in the form of a solid financial plan. And now we're kind of moving back to our context of assets and cash flows. So this would be an example of assets that they put money into your pocket, relatively passive, because we want leverage. We don't want to open up a hamburger stand where our presence is required to make money necessarily. We want a system.